Silicon Valley is changing dramatically.
The H-1B visa has become one of the most controversial topics in American immigration policy.
The country would rather not have to pay $100,000. How do you do that? You hire Americans.
Let me explain. Some of the most influential startup founders and engineers building today's biggest tech companies aren't actually US citizens. They came here on work visas to build major startups and work at their dream companies. But suddenly, that talent pipeline is being reshaped. The US has introduced a new rule tied to the H-1B visa, often referred to as the $100,000 salary requirement.
$100,000 per year.
It raises the amount that companies have to pay to sponsor H-1B employees. This causes an issue because many small startups can't afford to pay that $100,000 fee.
I can't afford to pay $100K to hire to just to get the approval for an H-1. Like, I just can't.
While larger companies like Google and Amazon, who are working with the current administration, can afford it. Further, this pushes smaller companies to outsource a lot of their talent overseas, which kind of contradicts the entire intention of this new rule. So what happens to an industry that was built on immigration when access suddenly becomes far more expensive? The claim is to bring more jobs back to the US. But what if it's about more than just that? Because this isn't just about visas. It's about restricting and controlling who gets to work on groundbreaking technology and who doesn't. So let's get into it. Silicon Valley is known as the birthplace of tech innovation in the United States. But what's often left out of the story is who built it. From its earliest days, Silicon Valley wasn't powered by local talent alone.
2/3 of the tech professionals in Silicon Valley are foreign-born. This is a place where the talent is, and it grows on itself. There's no place in the world has replicated that. China's investing a lot of money in universities and technical companies, but the talent is here. This country was built by immigrants, and without that energy, without that talent, the United States would not be as successful as it has been economically and technically.
Okay, so let's break that down. In Silicon Valley, tech talent looks a lot different than the rest of the US. About 2/3 of tech workers are foreign-born, and immigrants make up over 40% of the region's population. That's compared to 14% of the US as a whole. And when you zoom in on innovation, the role of immigration becomes even clearer. Roughly 60% of the top AI startups in the country were founded or co-founded by immigrants, underscoring how much the industry relies on global talent. So let's take a look at a few major examples. Sergey Brin, for example, the co-founder of Google, actually immigrated from the Soviet Union as a child. Andy Grove, the former CEO of Intel, he was a Hungarian refugee who helped turn Intel into the foundation of modern computing. And there are many more examples of these CEOs that are not American-born. For example, Satya Nadella of Microsoft, or Sundar Pichai of Google, and even Elon Musk or Jensen Huang. Imagine what tech innovation would look like without all of those people. Yeah, you'd be stuck with this. Not great. Imagine how horrible that would be. Okay, so cue the $100,000 H-1B rule.
So the whole idea is no more will these big tech companies or other big companies train foreign workers. They have to pay the government $100,000, then they have to pay the employee. So it's just not economic. If you're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land. Train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs. That's the policy here, $100,000 a year for H-1B visas, and all of the big companies are on board. We've spoken to them about the gold card.
They love it. They love it. They really love it. They need it.
Apparently, they love it. Who is they exactly? Because it's certainly not early stage startups, who often can't even afford to pay six-figure salaries across the board. And it's not larger tech companies either, at least not in the way that it's being framed. Big tech companies like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, they already pay way above this threshold. They sponsor thousands of H-1B visas every single year. It's vital to their business. And for them, a higher salary floor isn't a barrier, It's a filter. It makes the talent pool smaller for them, but it's also easier to dominate because they can afford it. And it's also not American workers that are having their jobs stolen, despite how this policy is often described. In reality, there's been a persistent and well-documented gap between the number of US citizens with advanced STEM skills and the number of roles that actually need to be filled. And that's the entire reason the H-1B program exists in the first place. In fact, the H-1B program is often referred to as a high-skill or specialty occupation visa. These roles require at least a bachelor's degree in highly technical fields like software engineering, data science, AI research, and even semiconductor design, areas where domestic supply has consistently fallen short of demand.
America has a secret weapon. That secret weapon is the H-1B. Without the H-1B, the scientific establishment of this country would collapse. Forget about Google. Forget about Silicon Valley. There would be no Silicon Valley without the H-1B. And you know what the H-1B is? It's the genius visa, okay? You realize that in the United States, 50% of all PhD candidates are foreign-born? At my system, one of the biggest in the United States, 100% of the PhD candidates are foreign-born. The United States is a magnet sucking up all the brains of the world.
So yeah, you heard it here, but nevertheless, this was the official statement put out by the White House. So they claimed that the H-1B program was created to bring temporary workers into the United States to perform additive, high-skilled functions, but it's been deliberately exploited to replace, rather than supplement, American workers with lower-paid, lower-skilled labor. They also claim that the number of foreign STEM workers in the United States has more than doubled between 2000 and 2019, increasing from 1.2 million to almost 2.5 million, while overall STEM employment has only increased 44.5% during that time. Further, the abuse of the H-1B visa program has made it even more challenging for college graduates trying to find IT jobs, allowing employers to hire foreign workers at a significant discount to American workers. So was the H-1B program being abused? Is it true that foreign workers were taking away American jobs? But before we continue this video, I want to take a minute to thank today's sponsor, Caffeine. And no, not this caffeine. Caffeine AI is a platform that allows anyone to build custom websites, online apps, and full-featured digital services using only natural language conversation with AI. It's an all-in-one platform from build to deployment to iteration, and users don't need to manage infrastructure or hosting. I mean, look at some of these examples. Brain Boost is an app where you can literally play games to help train your brain. It includes challenges like mental math, reaction timers, pattern recognition, and memory numbers. So cool. Another one is this 3D map. You can scroll and zoom to find different places around the world. I think that's pretty cool too. All built with Caffeine AI. So if you want to build your own app, this is how it works. You prompt your idea in the chat, get a draft app in 1 to 5 minutes, make iterative changes as needed, and then deploy your production app with 1 click. And then you can monitor and maintain your live application. It's seriously that easy. Some other cool features include being able to directly upload images and documents into Caffeine, being able to click on elements and manually edit something if you don't like it, and different chat modes like Instant, Thinking, and Pro to help you optimize your creative process. So what are you waiting for? I've included a link in the description below. Get started with Caffeine today. Now back to the video. I mean, if you really wanted to find evidence and support your confirmation bias, there are clips online showing that some people do abuse the H-1B rule, which may lead you to think that the whole system is being abused.
I just have some questions about the H-1B visa workers that you have here. Quibbit's Technology.
Can I call cops?
So are the workers in here?
Hey, somebody is knocking on my door and then they are like threatening me.
I'm not threatening you, sir.
Please, can you help me?
I was just asking if you knew, if you had ever met the person who lives here.
I haven't, and I'm them, but please.
Can you tell me what you've seen? That she's seen some shady stuff go down and she has a family and she doesn't want to be involved. So whatever is happening really stinks.
But the evidence says that it's way more complicated than that, as everything is. Of course, every program will have some percentage of corruption or abuse, but it doesn't mean the whole system is broken. Multiple labor market studies over the last 2 decades have found little to no evidence that H-1B workers on average displace US workers in highly technical and skilled fields. In fact, in many of the cases, the presence of H-1B workers has actually been associated with job growth, not job loss. That's because high-skilled immigrants tend to complement domestic workers rather than replace them, especially in technical roles where teams scale together. Economists have consistently shown that when companies hire skilled immigrant workers, they often expand faster, create more teams, and generate additional roles for US workers in adjacent functions like product, management, sales, and operations. In other words, the pie grows. And again, that doesn't mean abuse never happened. It's not a rosy picture for all H-1B scenarios. There were cases, especially in the early 2000s, where outsourcing firms used the H-1B program in ways that kind of blurred its original intent. Some companies paid below market wages, used visa dependency as leverage, or funneled workers into roles that weren't truly specialized. Those cases were real, and they deserved scrutiny. But here's the key distinction that often gets lost. Those abuses were concentrated in specific firms and sectors, not representative of the broader tech ecosystem. Most H-1B holders in core tech roles were already being paid competitive or above market salaries relative to their US peers. And importantly, the wage data backs this up. In many major tech hubs, H-1B salaries in engineering roles closely track or exceed median domestic wages. And that directly contradicts the idea that these workers were broadly lower paid replacements. If anything, the data shows that these companies used H-1Bs to fill roles they couldn't fill fast enough domestically. Again, the whole point of the program. So what does this mean for the 100K rule? Raising the salary floor doesn't selectively eliminate abuse. What it does change is the structure of who can participate. Large companies already paying well above the threshold aren't really affected, but smaller startups, research labs, and early stage companies are the ones that are always pushed out.
Google can absolutely afford to pay the 100K. I can't afford to pay 100K just to get the approval for an H1. Like, I just can't. So for me, that's going to really limit my ability to compete with the larger companies.
And this clip shows exactly where the real consequences of the 100K H1B starts to show.
The United States is a magnet sucking up all the brains of the world, but now the brains are going back. Right. They're going back to China. They're going back to India. And people are saying, oh my God, there's a Silicon Valley in India now. Oh my God, there's a Silicon Valley in China. Duh. Where did it come from?
So, I mean, there will probably be a lot of unintended consequences. One being that many workers will leave the US as smaller startups can no longer afford to pay the hefty fee. And when smaller startups can't afford to sponsor H-1B workers at that $100,000 salary floor, remember, that's the floor. On top of that, they have to pay the actual salary for the worker. Those workers don't just magically turn into US hires. They either go back to their home countries or they take jobs in other tech hubs that actually want them. Countries like Canada, the UK, Germany, and Singapore have been actively positioning themselves as alternatives to Silicon Valley, offering faster visas, lower barriers, and clearer paths to long-term residency. So instead of bringing back jobs to the US, the policy is actually doing the complete opposite. It pushes talent and the companies that they would have built elsewhere. And once that talent leaves, they don't automatically come back, because this rule doesn't affect everyone equally. Large companies already paying well above the 100K can absorb the change without blinking. In fact, for them, it actually becomes an advantage. Fewer startups competing for the same talent means a tighter hiring market, one that they're better positioned to control. And when you reduce the flow of specialized talent, you don't just lose workers. You lose research, experimentation, and risk-taking. You lose the early teams that would have have built the next Google, Nvidia, or OpenAI before anyone actually even knew their names. Historically, Silicon Valley thrived because it could pull the best minds from anywhere. When access became more competitive and restrictive, fewer ideas actually make it to the market. Not because they were bad, but because the teams behind them couldn't form. And that's the real cost. So next time you're thinking about this H-1B rule and wondering if, okay, maybe it'll bring back jobs for Americans, just think about the gaps that existed before the program was created. It was created for a reason. It's not that we no longer need it, it's that it's being used as a facade to gain support with the current administration. So time will tell what the real consequences of this change is. And for now, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it and leave a comment on your thoughts below. See you next time!